Good evening, adventurers. How are you? We are here for a special edition, a very special edition, one of my favorite annual VATSIM events. Very special edition of Slant Alpha Adventures. Welcome, guys. Melvin Leroy is already checked in. You know what the funny thing is, Melvin? When you pop in before I go to the live screen, the greeting still sounds in my ear. It just doesn't come over the stream. So all of a sudden, I'm like, just taking my last deep breath, getting ready to go over what I'm going to go over as far as the briefing of today's flight, and all of a sudden I've got somebody in my ear talking about ball bearings. So anyway, welcome. Hello. And you can hear the Mooney brake deploying and undeploying. I guess I need to just move my throttle lever up a little bit so that stops happening. Melvin is everywhere. Yes, indeed. Melvin, you flying into this thing today? Alright, anyway, while we are getting all that sorted out, welcome, guys. It's another one of our Slant Alpha adventures, and as I alluded to moments ago, it is a very special edition of Slant Alpha Adventures. Melvin says he's flying in this event tomorrow, by the way. This is indeed a 2-day event held on the VATSIM network, and it is our virtual version of the famous, or should I say notorious, EAA AirVenture fly-in to Oshkosh, Wisconsin. The insane Fisk VFR arrival. And that's what we're going to fly for you tonight here in the Mooney Ovation. This will be the second year in a row we'll have done it in the Mooney Ovation. Used this very same aircraft last year. And this is your second year in Flight Sim 2020, second year in the Mooney Ovation. This is the route that we are going to fly for you today. We are starting up at Rhinelander Airport. Oneida County, is that upper Wisconsin? I guess it's upper Wisconsin. I'm not sure where exactly Oneida County is. Let's just right-click, open that in the new tab, and get some information. Rhinelander, Wisconsin. Yes, exactly. Okay. I took a wild stab at it, and I got it right. It was a 50-50 shot. I didn't know which side of the Wisconsin and Minnesota border it happened to sit on. But there it is. And there we are. The last time, so the first time we did this 2 years ago on stream, we took off from, I think it was St. Paul downtown, or it was one of the satellite airports in the Minneapolis-St. Paul region. I'm pretty sure it was St. Paul downtown. Followed the Mississippi River down here. We forked off at the Wisconsin and came out east. And then as this Wisconsin River turns, let's see, where's it go? It kind of bends up this way, and then we kind of kept straight on out here toward Puckaway and Green Lake, and that was the route we did the first year. Last year, we departed from the south. We came in from Moline, Illinois, which is this one? Yeah, Quad Cities, Davenport, Rock Island, Moline, and whatever the fourth one is. Took off from Moline Airport, Moline, Quad Cities International, and followed the Mississippi northbound. Broke off onto the Wisconsin, came out here to the east, and broke off to the north and east when the Wisconsin kind of bends north. Got to keep on going north there, and then pick up Puckaway Lake and Green Lake and so forth. So this year we are taking the Wisconsin River from the north coming in. We're going to depart from Rhinelander, Oneida County, take off to the west. I'm not sure what the prevailing winds are here. Actually, let's do this. Not sure what the prevailing winds are here, but we'll check on that in a moment. Take off to the west and join this lake here, which I guess is not marked as far as the names. We could check on Google Maps if we really cared what the name was. Oh, Lake Nokomis, possibly? Is that what that is? And that is where the Wisconsin River comes off of to the south. We'll follow the zigzag of the Wisconsin from this side. And instead of coming in from the south, we're coming from the north, but we're still going to break off the Wisconsin River, head out to the east, and this time we'll come over Endeavor Bridge and Puckaway Lake. Now, these 2 points we'll show you in just a moment. Endeavor Bridge and Puckaway Lake are used as the backup and backup transition points for this beginning of this Fisk arrival, which typically starts at Green Lake and heads up towards Ripon, But when it starts to get busy, they'll start pushing back to Puckaway and or even Endeavor. But if we're coming in from that direction, we'll just come over Endeavor and Puckaway anyway. Hopefully not having to hold there. Hopefully being able to proceed directly to Green Lake, and then north and eastbound to Ripon, up the railroad tracks to Fisk. And then once we get to Fisk, we'll get some direction as to whether we're doing a 3-6, a left base to 3-6, or a right base to runway 9, or if we're going to come out here to a right downwind to runway 27. I didn't wussy out going to Oshkosh. Just going to watch a bunch of streamers tonight and do it tomorrow as a steep ride. Yeah, it's a fun one, man. It's worth it, but it is definitely worth putting in a little bit of time to check this out and make sure you kind of have a sense of what you're doing. It's not terrible if you mess it up, but if you at least want to know that you have kind of the basic understanding of how it's supposed to work. And it's not. Braden says, can't wait, won't be attending this year. Just noticed about it today and needs a lot of practicing. Yeah, if you get a chance to maybe check it out tonight and then fly it tomorrow, it would definitely be worth it. We are going to jump over here to the VATUSA.net calendar under Pilot Tools and Events calendar. We'll see that they are indeed doing this twice. Tonight, VATVenture 2022, and tomorrow, VATVenture 2022 Part 2. And it's the same banner and same NOTAM up here, but they just post the same event basically twice. They do have the briefing here, a Google Doc, which we'll show you in just a moment. This guy seemed really excited about the event that was going to be going on. But yeah, so here's the notice. It's no longer called a NOTAM, by the way. I guess in order to make it more gender inclusive, they no longer call it a Notice to Airmen, NOTAM. I heard that they were switching the terminology to Notice to Air Missions, NOTAM. But I guess now they just call it a notice, which is fine. But anyway, here it is. It's 30-some-odd pages, 33 pages of notice regarding the very unique procedures coming into this event. And Cutlass 42 Victor is here. Flew in and camped 2 years ago with Dad in his Cutlass 172 RG. Very cool, man. Very cool. Yeah, I've never been in the real world. Obviously, I'm not a real world pilot, but I've never been just even as a spectator, but I would love to. It is a bucket list item for me, as so many of the places I visit on this stream are. We are not going to go through this entire notice, since much of it, you'll see VFR departure from Oshkosh, IFR departure from Oshkosh, the turbine and warbird arrival, transient helicopter arrivals to some of the satellite airports, IFR departures, and so forth. So we're really only going to cover up to about page 19. But we're not going to go through this word for word. You guys are capable of reading. I'm just going to kind of hit the highlights for you here. It is a special procedure used because of the massive high volume of general aviation arrivals. And so they use this special procedure in order to pack everybody in that they can into the tiniest amount of airspace that they can safely, while getting everybody in a nice big single file line, and then they break them off onto the runways at Oshkosh Whitman Field. They're in the notice here. They have a series of recommended sceneries. The Flight Sim 2020 one is called Whitman Regional Airport Colored Runway Dots. The thing is, you need a scenery that has those colored runway dots, because we'll get to this later on, they pack so many planes onto this runway in rapid succession that sometimes they want you to land about halfway down the runway or a third of the way down the runway just to expedite the arrival behind you. So they have these colored dots or squares on the runway that they direct you to land at, so that you're not rolling the entire length of the runway at taxi speed. So we'll get to that in a little bit, but you have to have a scenery that's got the colored dots. Now, I recommend a different one that is on flightsim.to than the one that is here. If we go to flightsim.to and we come up to the top and we just search KRHI-KOSH, you'll see the colored dots one. Oh, wait a minute. Did I not? Okay, here we go. So the colored dots one is just called, it's by, author is Squawking VFR. Here's the one that they recommend. There's another one over here called by the author called WindHover, and I believe WindHover's actually checked in on our stream a couple of times, which is really cool. He's got some other sceneries on the flightsim.to, which is a fantastic freeware repository for FlightSim 2020, by the way. If you're not familiar, you should be. But this version of Whitman Regional Airport is a little bit better, and in fact, they just updated it this past week. The last update date you'll see is July 18th, 2022, and it is Sim Update 9 compatible, verified. Some things that they fixed from version 1.0 to 1.1. Apparently there was a mistake with the ILS 3.6 that's been fixed. The windsock directions were messed up. So they did some improvement of the taxiway lines and pavement and some buildings. They added a few more hangars and static objects. I don't think they yet have like the full event, like the LPNils scenery for X-Plane, which is fantastic. If you're flying this in X-Plane, get that scenery by LPNils, and you'll have the full event in full tilt when you get there. You got the colored dots, but you also got marshallers and all the tents and all the hundreds of GA planes parked in the grass, and you definitely want to check out that version of the scenery. I don't think this version of this scenery has all of that, but apparently they've fixed a few things. And the other thing is that they added in the microwave antenna along the Fisk arrival, and they added a couple of the other buildings along the Fisk arrival to make it a little bit easier to spot them. And again, we'll kind of cover what I mean by that here in just a moment as we go through the procedure. JawaUND.com or JawaUN.com. I'm trying to figure out. Jawan.com. Okay, got it. Cargo Real the Gamer is here. What's going on? Yeah, sorry, Jawan. It was occasionally the text chat's usernames come up in really strange dark fonts, and it's hard for me to read. I got to go to a secondary window to read those usernames, and even sometimes I still butcher them. But anyway, welcome to the stream, and Cargo Real, welcome as well. All right, so anyway, so this is the one that I recommend. This is the one by WindHover, and it does also have the color dots, so it's perfectly usable. But that's the one that I recommend more so than the one that they actually have in here. But either one will work. They do recommend that you plan an alternate. I hope not to have to divert today, but I am packing some extra fuel. And when we get to the part where we are talking about my fuel planning, I will go over that. There is a note here about frequencies. Thanks to Audio for VATSIM, it says multiple frequencies can be utilized by one controller. What that means, though, is that there are certain frequencies. Oh, it's okay, Jamar. Hey, that's awesome, man. Okay, good. Good to see you, man. So there are certain frequencies that will be in use, but they won't show up in your pilot client nearby controllers list. Okay, so the Chicago Center might be, for example, transmitting on two separate frequencies, and they might have you switch from one to the other. You're going to be like, well, wait a minute, 119.85 is not in my list. Well, that doesn't necessarily, for this event, that doesn't necessarily mean anything. If they give you a frequency to contact or monitor, definitely go ahead and switch to it. Just because it's not in that list doesn't mean it's not operating. So yeah, you definitely want to just go by what they tell you, and the frequencies that are in this document are 99% reliable, and the ones that they tell you on frequency are 100% reliable. Bring pen and paper. Yeah, well, the other thing you can do, you got this notes tab right here, 119.85, or whoops, you can't start it with a dot, but you can put 119.85 there in the notes tab, and then I think if you go dot clear, get rid of that. Yeah, anyway, so definitely utilize that notes tab. That's a great tip for keeping stuff handy if you need to. Kenny Monster is here. What's going on, Kenny? I like VPilot. I can speak from the notes tab on XPilot. No, XPilot does do that, Cargo Rail. Oh, you can speak from the notes tab. Yeah, you should be able to do that on both. Should be able to do that on both. Anyway, so yes, definitely. Oh, and definitely read the notice, Jamar. It's not called a NOTAM anymore. It's called a notice. Although in here they did slip once and call it a NOTAM somewhere throughout this NOTAM. Yeah, so they didn't catch all the instances. Kenny's got to do Memphis to MSP. What, you're not going to come into Oshkosh, Kenny? Yeah, I'm surprised that Minneapolis isn't on. We're up in their airspace. And so we'll talk about the implications of that here in just a moment. Cargo says, I tried, but for some reason you have to be tabbed in the game in order for it to pick up the mic. That shouldn't be. There's something else going on there. At any rate, they do ask that you file a VFR flight plan. Now, normally they say on the VATSIM network in the U.S., you don't have to file a flight plan to fly VFR. However, in this case, they strongly recommend that you do. And one thing that they really do recommend is that you put the color of your aircraft in your remarks. So we've marked ourselves, I think I misspelled blue. I'm going to refile that. So anyway, you do need to note the color of your aircraft in the remarks. The reason for that is the FISC VFR arrival controllers, FISC approach. It's not done through a typical radar scope in the real world. It's actually done by dudes camped out with binoculars, and when they see a specific colored high wing or low wing or twin, that's how they're going to refer to you. So they're going to say, blue and white Mooney, about half mile south of Fisk, give us a wing rock. And so, you waggle your wings back and forth, and that's how you acknowledge. And they're looking through their binoculars, and they see you go back and forth, and they're like, okay, great rock, Mooney. This is what I want you to do, blah, blah, blah. So in order for them to give you that level of immersion here on the VATSIM network, where the livery that you are seeing yourself as may or may not be the same livery that others are seeing you as, they need to know what color you are to yourself, or what color. You could put anything in there, but whatever it is, it doesn't necessarily have to match what you're seeing yourself as, but you do need to listen out for it. So if I say I'm a solid black Mooney, regardless of what the livery actually is, when they say, hey, black Mooney over Fisk, rock your wings, you got to be ready to listen out for that. But I'm just going to call myself blue and white because that's what we're seeing here on the screen, and it's just the easiest thing to do. These next couple of pages I don't find too terribly useful. It is included in the real world notice. I almost called it the NOTAM. The real world notice does give you some suggested routes for coming in toward Oshkosh while routing yourself around some of these busy airspaces elsewhere in the region. So there are some kind of VFR recommended, what we'll call bypass routes, like beltway routes that go around these congested Charlie airspaces so that you don't get tangled up into those. You can kind of disregard that, though. I mean, if whatever routing you want to fly is fine. And of course, we, like I said, plotted this route coming down the Wisconsin River from the north. Agent Bravo 7 is here and says, soon we're finally rocking wings and not squawking ident. That is correct, Agent Bravo 7. That is one of the exciting changes this year. We're going to cover that here. I might have already said that. No, probably didn't. We're getting there. It's not Braden says, what yoke do you use? If you want a full listing of my my hardware, it's down there under the About tab. So anyway, here's the Fisk VFR arrival. So once you get in this vicinity, and regardless of which direction you come from, you do need to swing around to the west here and come in from the west. That's the way you have to do it for this arrival. It's to be used by all VFR landing at Oshkosh Wednesday and Thursday, today and tomorrow, except those using the ultralight arrival, the turbine warbird. We're only going to cover the Fisk arrival today, by the way. Starts by using one of the ATC designated transitions to Ripon. And again, the default one is going to be Green Lake, but when they start to get really busy, they will push back to Puckaway Lake, and if they get really, really busy, they'll push back to Endeavor Bridge. Arrival, plan your arrival within the event periods. Plan your fuel load carefully. Plan sufficient fuel for unexpected holding and possible go-arounds. We'll talk about what I've planned here once we get into the aircraft. If you're not comfortable with the procedures, consider coming into Fond du Lac or one of the other alternates. I forget what ATW is, but that other one. Or watching from the ground. Remember, we are here to help. If you do misunderstand, you can talk to the controller. Now, the key thing here is one of the reasons you use a wing rock to acknowledge is you typically do not talk to the air traffic controllers. You acknowledge by rocking your wings, and then you just simply follow their instructions. So we probably are not even going to use our push to talk at all tonight, at least not after we get up from our origin here at, what's it called? Rhinelandville? Rhinelander. So approaching the transition starting point, ensure your lights are on within 50 miles, leave the transponder on, tune the arrival ATIS no later than 60 miles from Oshkosh, and note the arrival runways in use. Have the NOTAM arrival pages mentioned on the ATIS available. So we are going to leave this document up. Then monitor Fisk approach on 120.7. Arrive at the transition starting point 90 knots and 1800. If you're not able to operate comfortably at 90 and 1800, then 135 and 2300 is your secondary. Now in the Mooney, 90 is kind of on the borderline and when you want to start putting flaps out, but I think we're going to just do the 90 and 1800. It does save us from having to do an adjustment later on in the arrival where we have to come down to 90 and 1800 anyway. I think we can probably pretty easily maintain that 90 and 1800 all the way up from Fisk, or from Green Lake rather. So here's the Endeavor Bridge transition out to Puckaway, and then Puckaway up to Green Lake, and then Green Lake to Ripon. So Ripon is what I meant. So Green Lake is the normal starting point, but again, since we're coming from the west, we're going to come over these two anyway. But we'll have to listen to that ATIS and see which one they want us to start the process at. Yeah, Drippy was just asking that. Do you talk to ATC at all en route? Well, pretty much no. You're almost always going to acknowledge by that wing rock, unless you've got a question. You can get flight following, but one of the things that is said on these earlier pages about as you route in is that the closer you get into Fisk, the less flight following services are going to be available. If you see the number of arrivals they already have coming in Oshkosh right now, they're not going to be able to give flight following to everybody. So plan not to have flight following. It does say that here somewhere. Workload permitting basis may not be available. I was right on the right page. So and for our purposes, we're going to take off from our origin here, Rhine something or other, Rhinelander, and we may have to talk to air traffic control for the departure. No, it's not. It's a Class Echo, so we're not even going to need to talk to anybody for the departure. We're going to be in Class Echo airspace all the way down here, so we won't need to be in touch with anybody until we get to into Fisk ATIS and then Fisk arrival, Fisk approach, and again we won't need to key up at all probably. So we'll key up on 122.8 for our departure, but other than that, that'll be it. Back to the NOTAM here. What time are we doing on time? Yeah, I want to be airborne by about half an hour from now, so we should be okay. Once you get from this point where you're Ripon to Fisk, if holding is not in progress, we're going to the northeast corner of Ripon, Green Lake to Ripon. So you can kind of fly just up the eastern coast, headed northeastbound of Green Lake, and then you get to the town of Ripon here. Once you get from Ripon and you're going north and east toward Fisk, actually let me do it this way. Let me reset the browser zoom, but let me zoom the document. I think that works a little better. Okay, yeah. Once you're going north and east of Ripon, and by the way, coming off of Green Lake, you should be pairing up with another aircraft and remain at least a half mile behind them. You shouldn't overtake them unless you're told to. You shouldn't be doing S-turns. You should just stay a half mile behind them, maintain that 90 and 1,800 feet, that 90 knots and 1,800 feet, and just make sure you stay a half mile behind them. We'll catch up with the chat here in just a moment. I missed the part, says Cutlass, explaining the arrival procedure. You want to go to VATUSA.net and the event calendar. So, yeah, VATUSA.net, the event calendar, and then go under today's, and the Google Doc is linked right here. That's what we're looking at. Yeah, Agent Bravo 7, rock your wings with the infamous double click. We're getting to that, where we actually can rock our wings now. Arch NDA says, do you know if they're broadcasting this from a tower view perspective so we can hear the radio calls and such? I don't know if any of the controllers are streaming this Arch NDA. I think Jamal was on here earlier. He might be able to answer that. I know that they have in the past posted time lapses of the scope view after the fact, but I don't know if anybody is streaming the air traffic control side of this thing. Anyway, so pair up with another aircraft and make your way up from Green Lake to Ripon. Once you're over Ripon, you should be a half mile behind anybody. You shouldn't be any closer than that. Again, 1890, or if you can't do 90, you should be at 2300 and 135 going from Ripon, and you're following the railroad tracks. You try not to follow Route 44. You're trying not to follow a magenta line that goes directly from Ripon to Fisk. You're supposed to follow the railroad tracks. Now, last year, we had a great deal of difficulty seeing the railroad tracks in Flight Sim 2020, so I'm going to kind of use a little bit of a cheat on the arrival to get a radial reference off of the Oshkosh VOR just to get us in the ballpark and make sure we're kind of pointed in the right direction. And then we should be able to see, where we are headed north and eastbound. Hopefully, I know that the scenery that we talked about earlier did add some of the VFR landmarks, but I don't know that it did anything to improve the roadway and the railroad, the railway. Anyway, Cargo Real. No, we are, because VATSIM velocity, which we'll explain here in just a moment. We'll talk about how you do the actual wing rock. Starwolf says, "Where's the scenery?" If you go to this NOTAM on the event page on VATUSA.net, the first few pages of the NOTAM has the scenery recommendations right in it. But the one that I recommended, if you just search up flightsim.to and search up KOSH, there's the better one is the one by WindHover. Unfortunately, guys, in order to get this done and get this plane airborne, I'm not going to keep going back and go over stuff again. If you missed stuff from the beginning, feel free to wind the stream back. All right. Anyway, where do we leave off? So there are some VFR waypoints. If you are using a GPS to guide you, which we are not going to do, there are some GPS waypoints that you can put in here that will help you out. And I did put them into the route that I plotted in SkyVector. But each of these points along the, on the other end, on the arrival end, these referenced visual points that we've discussed along the way. Puckaway Lake has a visual reporting, well, starting back here at Endeavor. The visual point in Endeavor, ENV. Visual point Puckaway Lake, VPPLK. Visual point Green Lake, VPGRN. Visual point Ripon, VPRIP. Visual point Fisk, VPFIS. So those can help you out. The only thing, like I said, is that the magenta line direct from Ripon to Fisk is not exactly where you ought to be. You need to be over top of the railroad tracks at that point. So these points in your GPS, if you're using a GPS, can offer you a guideline, but you don't want to rely on them 100%. Now, one thing we can do is just to get a guideline off of the VOR. Let's just take out that Fisk visual point. Let's plot a point off of the VOR here. So as we get to the bottom and we're tracking up the railroad tracks, at least on the beginning, as I say, is 058. I gotta pull it over my second screen to see it. Yeah, that's a 058, so that's a 238 radial off of the Oshkosh VOR that will get you at least in the ballpark so you know you're following the right thing. So a 238 off of the Oshkosh VOR is going to be how we kind of give ourselves a sanity check and a cross-reference. Again, it's not going to be super duper obvious, at least it wasn't last year, which of these lines is the railroad track. but a 238 radial off of this VOR Oshkosh 11675 will at least get us close enough that we'll know we're following approximately the right inbound course. Anyway, back to where we were talking about. Follow another aircraft a similar speed, reference the VFR waypoints, but visually navigate directly over the railroad tracks, which is what I was just saying. Lower your landing gear prior to reaching Fisk. Little nav map might be helpful also. Cutlass 42. Yeah, of course, on this channel, we're not going to rely on any kind of GPS or moving map, but for those of you who use it, it will be helpful. The town of Pickett is about 4 miles. You'll see steam from the grain drying facility. And after this point, you should be listening to the, you should have already listened to the ATIS on 125.9, and you should be monitoring Fisk approach at 120.7. Just as you come to this stretch between Pickett and Fisk, that's when you should be listening out. Blue and white Mooney got you a half-mile southwest of Fisk, Rocky Wings. And then you give that wing rock. Great rock, Mooney. And then they're going to say either follow the railroad tracks. You're going to be on the railroad track transition to runway 9er. So keep following the railroad tracks and make a right base to runway 9er. Or they're going to say turn right over the Fisk Avenue transition. You're going to make a left base for runway 36, and then they'll give you the tower frequency to monitor. So you go ahead and do that. Switch over to the tower frequency, and then as soon as you get close to the runways, the tower controller will call you, ask you for a wing rock, and they'll give you your landing clearance, tell you which dot to land on. Talk about the dots in just a minute. The other thing that they might give you, by the way, I don't know what landing direction they're doing. The other thing they might do is the right downwind to 27. So we'll talk about the three main possibilities here after Fisk here in just a moment. But the approach controller on 120.7 is going to split you off either up the railroad tracks or east on Fisk Avenue. You do have to be very careful that when you turn east on Fisk Avenue, you are following Fisk and not 44, which parallels the tracks. So be careful. Make sure that you're on about a 090 heading there. Here's a visual of what Ripon looks like. I believe this is taken from the real notice. So this is an actual photo, not from Flight Sim 2020, but hopefully it should be fairly close. Again, the railroad tracks are here. The road is over here, so you want to make sure you're following the tracks. When this is where they're saying they're going to call you by color and type, so please file a VFR flight plan with your aircraft type and include the color in the remarks, which we have done. No verbal responses are required. If you don't understand, you can request instructions on the frequency. Otherwise, no verbal responses are required. The controller will issue your runway assignment and the transition and the appropriate tower frequency. Don't go beyond Fisk or change to tower without them having told you to do so. So reaching Fisk, turn right, follow the east-west road, Fisk Avenue, or they're going to say follow the railroad tracks northeast. So at that point, you've got two options. You've got the eastbound Fisk Avenue, and again, don't follow the zigzaggy road, follow the straight road. Or they're going to have you continue up the tracks to that left base to runway 9er. Once they get you close to the runway, they're going to have you land on those colored dots. These are the holding patterns. If we need to use those, we will. If you're coming up to runway 9er, you're coming up the tracks. It's kind of a 45-degree right base to runway 9er. You either are told to land on the white dot, which is the first one, the green dot, which is the second one, or the orange dot, which is the third one. Again, if there's somebody close behind you, they're going to have you land further up the runway so that the one behind you has room to touch down and turn off. Meanwhile, you've landed and you're not taking forever to run up the runway on at taxi speed. So if they want you to land further down the runway, make sure that you do that. So that's if you're coming up the railroad tracks. Down here, if we're using 27, it's going to be the same thing. It's going to be up the railroad tracks, but it's going to be a very short and tight right base and downwind. I mean, right base and final. They want you to begin that descent at midfield because this is going to be the shortest short approach you've ever flown in your life. And particularly if they're going to have you land on the green dot from the downwind, you might even turn in tight, like right to the numbers basically, and then come up here and land on the green dot. So we'll have to see which landing direction. I've never done 9er and 2-7. I've only done 3-6 right and 3-6 left. I actually haven't done 18 yet either. So I guess that's the fourth option. I forgot about that one. If they have you come up Fisk Avenue, here's runways 3-6 and 3-6, left and right. 3-6 right is normally a taxiway. It gets renamed 3-6 right for this event. So if we get 1-8, we're going to pass the airport. We're going to start northbound before the shoreline, and we're pretty much going to turn base right abeam the blue dot here. So once we get to that blue dot, again, it's a very short turn to final, and either land pink, yellow, or purple. They probably won't have you go all the way down to the purple dot from the north, but certainly probably the pink or the yellow dot. And then finally, you know, if you do get this, if you get Fisk Avenue and then the left base to 3-6, that's probably the easiest one, and that's probably that is the one that we've done the last 2 years. I think we got green square on 3-6 right when we did this 2 years ago, and last year we did 3-6 left and we got the yellow dot. Anyway, so those are the possible transitions and arrivals. This is the last thing you need to know, though. There is no ground controller. All movement on other than paved runways is at pilot's own risk. Use extra caution. There is a standardized route from each runway. Are we flying today? Yeah. As soon as I explain the rest of this NOTAM, we're definitely going to get up and fly. So if we park on if we land on 27, we just make a right off the runway into the grass and then move on to Bravo or the grass near Bravo. If we go 3-6 left, it's just the left into the grass or onto the hard surface. 3-6 right, this is the one I got 2 years ago, and I hadn't read through this far, so I didn't realize there was a standard route, so I was kind of confused and kind of made a you-know-what of myself asking the controller about it 2 years ago. But at 3-6 right, high-speed taxi to the end, basically just roll it long, keep it going. You make a left onto runway 31, a left onto 23, and then back onto Papa. I'll show you kind of what that looks like. And again, we're looking at the standard airport diagram where Alpha is actually 3-6 right for this event. But yeah, they have you roll it long, they make this left on the 3-1, left on the 5, and come around the north end, and then they have you park over here off of Papa. So you're just kind of expected to know that because it is published here. If you land 9, left or right off the runway, south or north of the hold short bars, and then 18 right, again, it's just a right turn into the grass off of Papa. So do make sure you read all the way through. And again, you know, I'm going through this kind of quickly because I'm just trying to give you guys an overview. You guys can certainly go through this on your own if you plan on flying this event, but at least go through page 19 for the VFR arrivals if you're coming in via the Fisk VFR arrival. If you're going to do anything else, you're going to depart, you're going to come in IFR, you're going to come in via the Warbird. You know, you can read the appropriate pages, but for our purposes, just doing the Fisk VFR arrival into Oshkosh, hopefully now we've got enough of that sorted out and ready to go. All right. I didn't see in here where it mentions to Fisk Holding. Real quick, we'll talk about the acknowledgement. Transitions. Does it really say like how you acknowledge? So I'll just call it. It says this in here somewhere. It just didn't happen to see where. But as I mentioned before, the way you acknowledge these instructions that are given to you by Fisk Approach and by the tower controller is by rocking your wings. So you kind of do a bank left, bank right, bank left, bank right a couple times as a means of acknowledging. And that's how they do this in the real world fly into Oshkosh. Is they call it rock your wings, Mooney. And okay, great wing rock, Mooney. Going back a year ago or more, the VATSIM network protocol really only sent pilot positions to you once every 5 seconds or so. So if you're flying straight and level, and there's a position sent, and then you do a whole bunch of violent maneuvers, and then you stop and your wings level again, and then there's another position sent, everybody else only sees that position and that position. They didn't see any of the stuff you did in between for 5 seconds. So wing rocking was not viable as an acknowledgement on the VATSIM network prior to this year. So the way we pretended to rock our wings, and if you'll notice, if you watch the video back from me doing it last year, I did the wing rock, with the ailerons, but I also pressed the ident button on the transponder, or in the pilot client, actually, the ident button right up here on vPilot. So that was kind of the way we faked it and acknowledged our transmissions non-verbally, but in a way that the controllers could see. That was the cheat that we used, was the ident button. We no longer have to do that, because now with VATSIM Velocity, our positions are updated to everyone around us 5 times per second. So as you do that wing rock, every 0.2 seconds, your updated plane's attitude is being sent to everybody else. So they will all be able to see that wing rock. I think the controllers may or may not even be watching a scope. I think they may be trying to do this visually, just like they would be sitting out there with binoculars at Fisk. So I don't know if they would even have a scope to know that you did an ident. Maybe Jamar can tell us the back of the house, behind the curtain kind of view of that. But yeah, I don't know if they're even watching a scope view this year to know whether you've done an ident. But yeah, we can, because Velocity sends that position update once every 0.2 seconds now. Our actual wing rocks can be seen by other players. So yeah, we actually get to do the real wing rock this year, so that'll be fun. All right, let's get up and going, guys. I was hoping to be airborne by 9 minutes from now. We're going to be hustling to get that, but we should be at least pretty close. Let's get into the aircraft. The battery switch can come on. That's that one there. Nav and beacon lights can come on there and there. We'll get the fuel selector on. We'll just start on the left-hand side. Throttle prop and mix levers can all go forward. We're going to run the fuel pump for about 5 seconds. That is there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Whoops, off. We're going to bring the throttle back down to about 10%. I'm going to pull the mix all the way down. We will engage the magneto right-hand side, left-hand side, both magnetos. We will clear the prop area. We got this dude in the yellow. Clear. Hello. All right, hopefully he's clear. Go ahead and engage the starter while we bring the mix in. And we hear that the engine catches. Oil pressure comes up right away. I think we got the throttle a little too high. But yeah, now we're good. Everything's good. Probably should close the door first. That's why it's so loud. But yeah, probably should close the door before we did all that. But that's okay. We do have a good engine. Oil pressure did come up right away. Everything is good. We can get the alternator and the radio master on. I am going to, again, we're pretending that we don't have this Garmin unit. We're pretending that our Nav1 Com1 stack looks basically like a carbon copy of our Nav2 Com2 stack. So we're going to pretend that this message, this moving map is not here. We're just going to hide it with the message screen, and that's that. Also going to turn off the marker beacons, as we're not going to need that today. We have sent our flight plan. I think we still don't have anybody controlling up in Minneapolis. I would have actually thought Mini Center would be on for this, but the way we'll set our The way we'll set our altimeter will just be to check the charted field elevation, and we'll set to that 1624 at Rhinelander. 1624, 16. Let's just bump it up to 20 feet there. There we go. That's yeah, right there is close enough. So that's now set and field elevation verified. Comm radios can for now be set to 122.8 because we are going to be on VATSIM CTAF frequency, which is always 122.8 regardless of what it is in the real world at that airport. Just 122.8 everywhere, just for simplicity's sake. Nav and ADF tuners. Now I am going to set, as we discussed earlier, I am going to set that radial we discussed off of the Oshkosh VOR. So 116.75, and I had said 058, which is going to be a 238. So 116.75 and 238. So that'll just help us find that that set of railroad tracks there. And I'm going to set that on the nav 2, so it shows up on this gauge up here. So 238 is there, and 116.75 is down here. And man, I'm sure there's a whole bunch of folks. We got the follow there from Devil Magician, and thank you very much, Devil. I thought there might have been a few others, probably a whole bunch of folks that have said hi in the chat that I haven't said hello to. I'm apologizing for that because I'm kind of just ripping through this explanation of this kind of complex slight, but hope that I at least said hi to everybody best as I could there, and we'll get airborne. We'll be able to talk to you a little bit more easily once we get going. What did we say the wind was here, or did we say? I think we might not have said. What is the... I think that says 290. So we will plan to take off. There's a runway 33, so we'll plan for that. Going to set 33 on the arrow and the heading bug, just as a visual reminder of the runway heading. We're kind of facing the opposite right now. I'm going to set the initial altitude. We're just going to set this to 3,500. I'm going to pretty much hand fly this entire thing, but 35, we shouldn't need to go any higher than 3,500. Set that there. Comm radio set. No clearance to obtain. We are indeed just VFR today. So we'll go ahead and put that into altitude mode. We're already squawking 1,200, so that's fine. We can check the speed brake operation. I'm going to pop the door. Very good, and we'll check it on this side. I try not to use it, but just in case we need it, it's there. And then we'll check flap operation on both sides as well. Okay, flaps are full there. Coming back to flaps 2 and then flaps 1. And then make sure that the indicator's correct as well, and that's good. Down here. And then we'll set the trim to the very top of the takeoff range there, so that's good. All right, guys, I think we're just about ready to go. Let's go ahead and get our taxi light on. And we are parked down here on the southeast side of the field. So I think we're parked right about there, so we'll need to make a 90-degree left, taxi out to Bravo, and then I think we can depart 33 from Bravo. That should be plenty of room. And we're at Rhinelander Airport, RHI. Okay. Alright, parking brake is off. Rob Valkyrie is here. Rhinelander traffic, Mooney 514 Delta Victors, taxiing out to runway 33 for VFR departure at Rhinelander. Alright, so let's get 180'd. We'll head out to the east. Check the brakes. Brakes are good. I think I turned the taxi light on already. Okay, nobody coming. Downwind Sim is here. We are doing the virtual version of EAA AirVenture. We're calling it VATVenture. Annual event that, you know, I love to fly on this network. So tonight's the night, man. Doing the Fisk VFR arrival, coming in from Rhinelander Airport, way up to the north. Alright, we will do a run-up when we get down here to the end of the runway. And I hope that I'm taxiing in roughly the, doesn't look like my... I guess that's not parallel. I guess Bravo isn't parallel to 33 and 15, so I guess that's okay, that it's not... We'll do a quick run-up when we get down here, and we're getting off the ground pretty close to 7 o'clock, which is what I had hoped to do, so not too bad. Alright, so yeah, we see we're perpendicular to the runway, and it's pointed to our left, and so everything seems to be lined up the way we expect it to be. Let's run the RPMs up to 2200 here. Okay, there's 22. Alright, let's do a quick blip of the prop governor there. Once. Twice. And then 3 times. Make sure that it recovers back to 2200. We're going to do a mag check. I'm going to go from both magnetos. You can see it's 2190, 2200. Okay. We're going to switch from both mags to just the left mag. You can see that the RPMs drop by about 30 there. Okay, back to both, and it should recover. Okay, good. And now we'll switch to just the right mag. Watch it drop again, about 30 RPMs. Okay, back to both, and it should recover. And it does. We're good. So run-up's complete. Rhinelander traffic, Mooney 514. Victor's departing runway 33. Going to be a left crosswind departure VFR to the southwest, Rhinelander. Alright, here we go, guys. Strobes on, landing lights on, taxi light off, pitot heat on. Engines responding normally. Temps and pressure's looking good. Let's go. Yep, that's the one downwind. Yeah, we got started an extra early so we could kind of go through that entire process and explain the very complex but very fun Fisk arrival. So the airspeed's alive. Coming up through 60 knots. And there we are, 80. We'll rotate. Away we go. Gears coming up. See if we can get the nose down and pitch for 85. I know the field elevation was about 1600, so when we get through 2000, we'll get the flaps up. Start the crosswind turn. There's 85 knots. And throttle back to from takeoff to climb. So we can ease it back from takeoff power to 24. Rhinelander traffic, Mooney 514 Delta Victor clear 33, starting the left crosswind. Rhinelander. So 24 on the manifold, we'll ease the RPMs back to 2400. Whoops, too far. And then we'll lean it out just a little bit. Like to keep it, for climb, you like to keep it kind of right in the middle of that blue arc there. Cutlass says they're already posting 37 arrivals. Yeah, it's a busy one. It's going to be a fun one. I put a filter on VATSPY to highlight anybody on their way to Oshkosh right now. All right, now. Just closing up some stuff I don't need. But what we do want to do now is basically turn to a 250 and head out to this giant lake out here. We're going to watch these. What I'm flying over right now might be these smaller ones. But let's make sure we're headed on like a 250. And I can set the... Well, I can set the bug and the arrow down to that to kind of give us a rough guideline. Bring the RPMs back just a touch. And 12 miles from the airport. And 105 is now our best rate of climb speed. Coming up on 3,500 anyway. Well, I'll tell you what. Let's just level it at 3. So let's get back down to today and tomorrow, downwind sim. Get back down to 3,000. And we'll pull the manifold down to 22. And RPMs down to 22. And we can lean it out here. So it peaks about 1475, so we'll enrich now until it gets to about 1425. That's close enough there. Okay, we're still trying to get stabilized at 3,000. And we did say it was 12 miles. And in this Mooney, we're going to cover about 3 miles a minute, so it should be about 4 minutes until we're over top of this fairly sizable lake here, which I think we decided was called Nokomis. Briefing link, yeah, if you go to VATUSA.net, Pilot Tools, Events Calendar, and then go to today's entry, and you'll find the downwind link in that post. Or I'm sorry, did I say the downwind link? The briefing link. You got downwind on the mind now. All right, there's a ton of little waterways here, bodies of water. I don't know whether this is the correct one. So let's cheat. We should be about on a 250 and 12 miles from the VOR, which is right there at the airport. So let's tune on nav 1, let's tune 1092 and see how far we are and what direction we are. 1092. Okay, and we're pretty much on the radial that we think we are. And we're 9.7, so we do need to go about 2 or 3 more miles. But I think that does put us like right over this body of water here. So that's good. That means from this point, we can kind of turn to 200 or thereabouts. Should see this Tomahawk Regional and the bottom end of this lake, and then we should be able to follow the railroad track and the river south from there. So let's turn to about a 200 and see. We should be kind of... There's a highway that goes off in that direction too. Kind of looks like it might be... Whoops. Kind of looks like it might be this one here. So I'm going to turn the bug to about there. Okay, so we should be following water. and then we get about 4 more miles, and then we should be making a left to about a 150 for 4 more miles. So that would be that out there, maybe. Sparker in VR is here. What's going on? And apparently I'm the only one coming in from the north. Well, that's fine. Alright, so the bottom end of that lake, we said, was about a 148, about a 150 maybe. So, whoops, that's not what I wanted to spin. So, a 150 right there. I guess that's what we're looking at. The plane sounds are too hot? Okay, I can knock them down a little bit. Let me know if that's better, guys. At what point do you contact ATC, Cutlass? Well, when we get within 60 miles, we'll monitor the Fisk ATIS. And then we will monitor Fisk approach from that point. All right, so coming out of the bottom end of this lake, should be kind of a bend to the right now, going about a 200. Or is that over here? Looks like we need to be west of the highway. Hopefully it clears up. Yeah, I'm cheating the weather a little bit. It's not real favorable up here where I am. So I am cheating the weather a little bit. So we need to be kind of going to 200 now. Okay, so yeah, so I think I got a little bit turned around. Yeah, so when we get within 60, we'll monitor the ATIS. And then when we're approaching our designated transition, which the ATIS will tell us which one, that's when we will switch over to monitor Fisk approach. Okay, so I need to be to the right of the roads, right? Yeah, to the right. If I'm coming this way, here's the roads. The river I'm trying to follow was out here to the right. Okay, so I think I see it now. Could be pieces of this up ahead, but I really think it's this over here. Yeah, so I'm not doing real weather. Now, I don't know. I hope.
Slanta co-pilot Slanta can.
I hope that at Oshkosh they are either. Well, that might be cleared off by the time we get there. I don't want to turn this into an IFR arrival. IFR arrivals are fun, but that's not what this event's all about. So I hope that they will allow us to do the visual procedure regardless of what the actual real weather is. So pilot deviation says so the VATSIM controllers are going to enforce the real-world conditions. Well, honestly, if it's going to be like that, then I'll probably just put myself in a hold and wait till it clears up, because I don't want to turn myself IFR. I'd rather put myself in a hold and wait for it to clear up, and then do the VFR procedure. But it does look like once this rolls through, it does look like it'll clear up, and hopefully we'll be good. Because we're way up here at this point, so. And this stuff looks like it's moving off pretty quickly. So pilot deviation says, yeah, you can do the real weather, just you're going to end up holding the green leg. Okay, that's fine. It does look like it's going to roll through by the time I get there anyway. Iowa Scotsman says the same thing. Okay. That's fine. I just didn't want to have to abandon the Fisk VFR arrival and just do an IFR. Yeah, the Pilot Edge event did recommend that we just go to clear skies. I didn't fly in that one, but I know that they were advocating for just all of us, you know, everyone that was in that, everyone just using a clear skies. Doing the real world weather for this event, it adds another very complex dimension to it. But like I said, if you're going to turn everybody into an IFR arrival, it kind of spoils the fun of what this event's all about. So, like I said, it does look like that line's going to move through rather quickly. And so hopefully that means that the controllers will start taking VFR arrivals in. And by the time we get down there, the good news is that means that some of the folks that are down there early, that are in the holds now, you know, may still well be there by the time we get there. And so it might be a nice, busy arrival. The Fisk arrival is much more fun when it's like crazy super busy. That's the whole beauty of this event. I don't think VATSIMs is going to have as many as Pilot Edges. But if they have to put the early arrivals into a hold and then stack everybody up, then that might make it more fun. Alright, so we're following this Wisconsin River. I think it is time to go ahead and do a switch from our left tank to our right tank. We're going to go ahead and turn the boost pump on. Checking everything on the gauges, looking good. Switch from left to right. Everything on the gauge is still looking good. Boost pump off. Alright, where are we as we're swinging around to the left? Slipping off a little altitude here. Let's keep it at 3. Just for ease of reference, I'm going to put the heading bug at due south. So we'll know whether we're going east of south or west of south. But we're in this little section that bugs to the east. Should be looking for this Merrill Municipal. And I believe that is that just off to our left. Looks like there's this little T-shape to the east side of that, so let's look and verify that we do indeed see that. Yeah, maybe. See if we can get those couple hundred feet back for you. Yeah, but definitely seeing the correct shapes here. Zigzag in the runway, and then there's a rectangular town right there. And I think that does match up here with what we're seeing. He Drippy says there's loads of traffic over Green Lake. Yeah, so that should make this more fun, guys. The Fisk arrival is cool no matter what, but when it's packed and you find another plane and the spacing doesn't work and you have to break off and go try it again, that's what makes it really more of a challenge. And the whole purpose of the procedure is to pack loads and loads of traffic in there. So if we get loads and loads of traffic for this thing, that's what's going to make it really put it to the test. Okay, south of the town of Merrill, the river bends back to the south. So we should kind of end up on a 180 or thereabouts here for the next little bit. Nomadic landers here. The hold looks cool on SimAware, says Cargo. Yeah, I'm kind of monitoring it on VATSpy. Does look like a bit of a cluster right now. So for the next little bit, we're following the river and the highway south of this town of Wausau. And we should see Wausau Downtown Airport, L-shaped airport coming up. I would expect we're still a little ways out from that, but this is probably the town here. Yeah, so there's a spot where the river and the highway kind of diverge for a little bit, and then there's the town, and then there's a spot where the river widens, and there's an airport kind of right there on the bank, so we'll make sure that we see everything on the sectional. Yeah, so highway, river, airport somewhere in here maybe. This possibly right here. We'll see when we get closer. Landmark wise, I do feel like I'm seeing what I expect to be seeing for the most part, so I think we're good so far with our navigation. Pneumatic says, I've watched a YouTube video about the A5, says it seems very expensive for what it is. I see why they're not doing very well. I don't know much about them. I do feel like they're kind of a rich man's toy. Of course, so much in aviation is. That's why I do it here behind a computer desk. You know, and the funny thing is like, my wife and I have occasional discussions about what I spend on PC hardware, sim hardware. I'm like, honey, just be happy I don't do it for real. Alright, fuel balance is looking good, so we're coming into that town of Wausau. I don't yet see, is this the airport here possibly? Wausau traffic, Mooney 514 Delta Victor's transitioning north to south 3100 Wausau. So we're 2,000 above field elevation here. So we should be well above the traffic pattern, but just as a courtesy, transmit our position and our intentions, just so that anybody planning on departing and climbing out, they'll know that we're here. Nomadic says I could really use a less expensive way to get from Little Rock to Dallas Fort Worth and back. The drive really sucks. Yeah, I imagine. That being in the transportation industry, I know what fuel costs are doing. Of course, they're starting to subside finally, but still pretty elevated. Alright, so coming out of Wausau, looks like a little bit of a right turn following the river and the highway south and westbound. Oh, we are coming into a Class Delta airspace here. Central Wisconsin. Is it still the case? Yeah, there's no VATSIM air traffic control here. If there's no Central Wisconsin tower on right now, but if Minneapolis Center were on, we would talk to them as well, as though they were the tower. So let's do this. Central Wisconsin traffic. Mooney 514 Delta Victor is about 5 miles north of field, 3,100 transitioning north to south along the river, Central Wisconsin. So if there was a tower controller there, you would check in with your position and your altitude and your intentions. And as soon as they answer you by call sign, since it's a Delta, it's not a Bravo, you don't need a clearance. But as soon as they answer you by call signs, you say Central Wisconsin Tower, Mooney 514 Delta Victor is about 5 miles north of field, 3,200 transitioning north to south. 514 Delta Victor, Roger, hello. That's all they have to say. Once they answer you by call sign, you've established two-way communication. That's all you need in order to proceed as requested through that Delta. The only exception to that, and now they can't answer you like aircraft calling standby. Aircraft calling is not sufficient response to consider it two-way communication. The only exception is if they say 514 Delta Victor remain outside the Class Delta airspace. That would be the only exception. You'd have to do what they said in that instance. But ordinarily for a Delta, and even for a Charlie, all you need to do is just be in touch with the controller, and if you hear your call sign in response, and you don't hear the words, remain outside blank blank airspace, then you're good. You got all you need. You don't need to hear a clearance. In case of a Delta, you don't need a squawk code. In case of a Charlie, you usually will get one. In case of a Delta, though, your VFR and a Delta, they probably won't even issue you a squawk code. Alright, so as we pass the airport, which is over here to our left, we can see this kind of expanse of this reservoir out to the right, but we're kind of following a little bit to the left, straight, And we should see this dam here. We should pick up this highway again. So again, we're going to be in a course where the river and the highway kind of go back to being parallel. Should be slightly ahead to our left. So somewhere up in here. I think it's this highway here that comes right over top of that reservoir. I think that's lining up with what I'm seeing. Yep, yeah, like right here. Here and here, maybe? Or, yeah. Kind of clips over the tip. Oh, lost a little altitude. How will they know your colors? Because they said to put your colors in your flight plan remarks. Obviously, they may not see the same livery for yourself that you're seeing for yourself. That was one of the things we covered at the top when we were going over that notice, which I almost called a NOTAM. My yoke is doing that thing where it's getting a little jittery on the left roll. So let's do this. Let's practice a wing rock, guys. So when they say blue and white Mooney approaching Fisk, give us a wing rock, this is what you'll do. Maybe not quite as violently as this. But that'll be a good opportunity for me to dust off that left aileron potentiometer. Do you have the Cytec? No, I got the Honeycomb. Yeah, we had to do a loose rivet check. All of your loose change is now on the ceiling. What's it like that? What was the carnival ride? The zipper? It was like a way for the carnies to scoop up all your loose change. Alright, so we should be on kind of a 160 thereabouts, heading down toward Whiting. And we should see this Stevens Point Airport just to the north end of town. Picking up a little extra altitude now. But I do see a spot where the river widens out right ahead of us, and then just beyond that should be the town of Whiting, and just to the left of that should be the airport that we're looking for, Stevens Point. And I'm seeing this C shape to the river here ahead of us before that. So let's compare. And yes, there is a bit of a C shape here just before that. So everything's lining up. Yeah, it might level out the fuel tanks too. Well, fortunately, Iowa, right now, I magically have them pretty leveled out. Which is not the usual situation on this channel. Alright, it does look like we have a signal off of that Oshkosh VOR now. Let's just, let's tune that on Nav1 also. Just for the DME. So Nav2, I don't have a way of showing the DME. But just so we can see that distance, in addition, let's go ahead and tune that 1675 on Nav1 as well. Yeah, 59.4. So we are within 60 miles of our destination. We probably should go ahead and tune in that ATIS. Now we're taking. We might hold off on that. So we are technically within 60 miles of our destination by straight line distance, but we're actually taking kind of a circuitous route. So I think we can probably hold off on that until I think when we did this last time, we said that this Wisconsin lake was kind of a good reference point for when we should go ahead and tune in that ATIS. Anyway, back to where we are. We passed by that, so we should be seeing Stevens Point to our left. Anybody seen an airport around here? Oh, maybe this? No, I don't see the airport. Hold on. It's possible that I missed it under wing. I mean, it should be like right in here somewhere. Oh, that's probably it right there. Alright, so coming south out of the town. Are we're still kind of following this up here? Oh, this is where, yeah, this is where it makes kind of a radical bend to the right. So this is where we're going to be on, you know, almost like a 260 for a little bit. So is that, okay, yeah, there it goes. So yeah, that's why I said let's not bother with that ATIS just yet. We can see we're 53.6 miles away from Oshkosh, but we're about to see that number start climbing. Now we could maybe try to follow this highway down. We could take a shortcut. I'm just concerned that, you know, river's a lot easier to follow, right? You lose this highway in the trees or something. You know, you're gonna be kind of wandering around until you're gonna cross a river and you'll be like, well, that might be the river that we're supposed to take, or that might be some other river. But you follow a nice big body of water the whole way, it's pretty unmistakable. It's harder to get lost. Of course, we do have some radio nav tricks we can use too if we need to, if we really start to get concerned that we're not sure where we are. But again, just the beauty about following these rivers is just, it's very hard to lose track of where you are. Now sometimes, and we're doing a series on this channel that we call River Run, where we've proven to ourselves time and time again that it is not really impossible to get lost along a river, because a lot of those little dips and wiggles start to look really similar. Nomadic Lander is asking the question, which is the $1,000,000 question. And Nomadic Lander, I am in the same exact boat as you are. Because Nomadic Lander says, I'm not brave enough to take my yoke apart to see how it works until it starts doing something weird like jitteriness like that. Is it just like a potentiometer with contact cleaner kind of thing, or is it something else? And Downwind Sim is affirming from Nomadic that that's exactly what it is. I'm not brave enough either. It might get to the point, so what's going on with this one is it only affects when I roll to the left, and when it starts getting jittery, if I do a wing rock, it seems to clean it off enough to act normal for a while. And right now you can see if I roll to the left, it's nice and smooth response. Nice and smooth response that way. Nice and smooth response that way. It'll start misbehaving later, but only when I roll left. And as soon as I waggle it back and forth, it's fine again. So for right now, because I'm just not mechanically sound, I don't trust myself to take the thing apart, get it back together, working properly. I'm going to do more harm than good, I know it. So for me, since it's a fairly simple workaround, I'm going to keep on keeping on until it becomes too annoying to deal with. And then I will probably seek someone's help. I'll ship it out to get done, or I'll just buy a new one. Agent Bravo 7 hasn't been around the channel for a while. Yeah, we've had that one for a while, Bravo 7, because I tend to obsess over tiny imperfections in fuel balance, and then I do something to fix it, and then I forget that I've done that, and then by the time I remember, I've made it way worse. So that happened enough times that I was just like, I figured you all needed a way to ridicule me for it, so there you go. Yeah, and the young lady that did that emote for me is also the one who did the animated co-pilot, and she actually did an animated spinning coin, but I lost. I have too many animated emotes now, so I couldn't use that one. Oh, Agent Bravo 7 says, I'm the opposite. I would get a huge surprise when I disconnected the autopilot because I forgot. Well, the first time I flew a Mooney in FSX for a long flight, the same thing happened to me. I completely forgot. And I disconnected the autopilot and then found that I was not able to turn right. Or no, I guess I wasn't able to turn left. I could only turn right. Because I had left the selector and left the entire way. And so the right half of the plane was so heavy that I couldn't turn left. So I had to limp around a right-hand traffic pattern to a tiny airport up in the rural county east of Baltimore. I was doing a flight. Just in my home area to a tiny little, probably 2,500 foot strip, and I had to limp myself around a right-hand pattern because I had botched the fuel management so hard. All right, so here we are, passing over another airport. I probably should have made a traffic call, but this now has got to be. Actually, where are we? I think I was looking ahead. So I think that was this. I think that was Alexander Field, Wood County. So I was looking ahead on the chart. I kind of stopped keeping track of my position. Go straight ahead from Wood. We're going to end up in this giant reservoir. Yeah, okay, so that looks about right. So Agent Bravo 7 has programmed her 750 with a repeating custom message that just says tanks every 20 minutes. Yeah, that's what good pilots do. I just eyeball it off of the gauge. If one gets about 5 gallons lighter than the other, I'll go ahead and make the switch. But, you know, yammering on talking with you guys, or, you know, getting lost in the charts, or whatever else, you guys have seen how easily distracted I am. Since we got a few moments, We might have a few new folks to the stream tonight. Welcome, by the way. We typically fly for you Mondays. Well, we typically stream for you Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 7 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time. We got a little early. We start a little early start tonight just because the event started at 6, and plus I wanted to kind of go through that notice with you. So we got a little bit of an early start tonight, but typically the show schedule is Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, 7 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time. There is some variation to that. You can check out the full show schedule down there underneath the About tab. It's also on our Discord server. The links to the Discord is down there on the lower right-hand side of your screen. Stabbed to the face has stopped. And he says, I'm cooking dinner, but I'm watching from the living room TV. Awesome. Now you got me nice in full Technicolor, as they used to say. But mostly what you'll see on this channel is old school radio-based navigation. You're gonna notice that we typically don't use any kind of Garmin unit, any kind of well, it's behind my giant head there. But we typically don't use the moving map on the Garmin. We pretend that Garmin is not there. We'll imagine that this COM1 NAV1 stack looks exactly like a carbon copy of this COM2 NAV2 stack just sitting on top there. So we use our imagination a lot on this channel. So we do all of our navigation with the old school analog radio-based navigation, which we've seen a little bit of tonight. We're mostly navigating visually, of course, but we've seen a little bit of radio navigation to kind of corroborate our position. And again, you know, we talked about having set this radial and the NAV2 to kind of help line ourselves up with the railroad tracks up at Fisk. So you're going to see us do that kind of thing rather than using any kind of GPS moving map. We occasionally break the mold of that channel, of that channel theme, and we occasionally fly the working title CJ4 mod. We occasionally will fly a modern airliner such as the 737, the PMDD 737, but for the most part it's all this old school radio-based navigation. I also do some VATSIM air traffic control on the channel. I'm a tower-rated controller with the Washington ARTCC on VATSIM, and currently in the training process to become an approach and departure controller, and we're streaming that training process on the channel as well. So lots of fun, exciting stuff. Again, that full show schedule down there underneath the About tab or over on our Discord server. We have two ongoing raffles that we run on this channel. Raffle number 1 is entered by virtue of those Twitch channel points, which we call Alphabets points here. You got the Alphabet serial icon at the bottom of the chat panel and a button that tells you how many of those you have. 1,000 can be cashed in for an entry into that raffle. 5,000 cashed in all at once gets you 6 entries. So it is a good idea to save up for that 5,000 threshold. We do the drawing toward the end of every month, so you do have some time to save up. Next one will be on July the 27th, and then after each drawing, we reset all the entries and start collecting them for the following month. So you always have, even if you're new to the stream, you always have an opportunity to get a fair shot in at that raffle. The other raffle that we do is our landing rate raffle. We'll get your predictions as to the vertical descent rate upon touchdown once we get up to Oshkosh. Don't start giving them to me now, but once we get over top of Fisk and we get our transition, we'll get your predictions. Closest predictor to that vertical descent rate gets an entry into that second raffle. Winner of the raffle gets their choice. Well, I have winner of each raffle, the 2 winners, the landing rate raffle winner and the Alphabets points raffle winner, each get their choice of any one of a bunch of different Slant Alpha merchandise items or a $25 gift card to Amazon, xplane.org, or Sim Market. All right, all the housekeeping having been done, let's start. It's going to be getting a little bit busy from here on in, guys, because we're just about to break off. Let's see, we're not actually. We're going to go down one more lake, and then we're going to break off and head over toward Endeavor. So let's go south one more lake here. We're over what I guess this is called Pentonwell Lake, and then we'll get over Castle Rock Lake just to our south. And then by the time we get down to the bottom end of Castle Rock Lake, back where the Wisconsin River comes out of it to the south and east, that's where we're going to break off on a 110 heading and start looking for Endeavor Bridge. So, okay, so it does look like we make a little bit of a left-hand turn and then follow this next lake down. So there it is to our, heading to our left. We haven't yet regained contact with that Oshkosh VOR. But I think since we're about to break off of Castle Rock Lake and break over straight toward Endeavor Bridge, I think we ought to check in with the Fisk ATIS and see what they're doing. Let's just also check how's the weather situation shaping up. It looks like the worst of it has moved off, and so hopefully that will continue to be the case. And not that I want to cheat and see where I am, but let's just get a sense of where we are here. Yeah, it looks like they've still got quite a few lining up and coming in. Oh, this looks like it's going to be a fun one, guys. Look at the line. Alright, so let's get back to where we were. Where's the ATIS frequency? ATIS is on 125.9er. Let's go ahead and tune that in and see what happens.
Contact, you had Alpha.
Alright, well, we do hear it.
Oshkosh arrival information Alpha 23140 with special observation. Wind 310 at 7, visibility 5, light rain, mist. Sea clouds at 900, feeling 5,500 broken, 9,000 overcast, temperature 220, altimeter 2957. RNAV or VOR runway 27 approaching you. VFR altitude is in effect. Green Lake transition in use. Phase 9er of the notice. Runway is 27, 36 left and 36 right in use. Pages 15 and 17 in the notice. Monitor Oshkosh approach, control frequency 120.7 for runway assignment and frequency. Oshkosh Tower will assign runway 36 left or runway 36 right. All four Oshkosh Tower frequencies are in use. Some may not be visible in your pilot client. That's initial contact. You had Alpha.
Alright, you don't really advise them you have Alpha because you don't really talk to them. But we'll listen to that again. 3 6s and 2 7 is in use.
Visibility 5, light rain, mist. Sea clouds at 900. Feeling 5,500 broken, 9,000 overcast, temperature 220, altimeter 2957. RNAV or VOR runway 27 approaching you. VFR altitude is in effect. Green Lake transition in use. Phase 9er of the notice. Runway is 27, 36
Green
left
Lake
and
transition.
36 right in use. Pages 15 and 17 in the notice. Monitor Oshkosh approach, control frequency 120.7 for runway assignment and frequency. Oshkosh Tower will assign runway 36 left or 36 right. All four Oshkosh Tower frequencies are in use. Some may not be visible in your pilot client. That's initial contact. You had Alpha.
Alright, there we go. So we're on 120.7. We're now at the bottom end of Castle. We're going to turn... Oops, those are the prizes I was talking about earlier with our raffles guys. Probably not going to be able to do a whole lot of stream selling here, or stream housekeeping. We're going to go ahead and break off. They are using the Green Lake transition, but we are going to come over Endeavor and puck away to it. So after we pass bottom end of Castle Rock, it's a 110 for 22 miles, so here we go. So set a 110 on the heading bug. And this is where it's going to start getting dicey with traffic too, so we're going to need to keep our eyes open. Once we get over Green Lake, that's when we're going to do that 1,890 knots. Okay, so we're going to go a little further left. If only we'd brought along the binoculars, yeah, indeed. Never leave home without them. So a couple of small lakes here, but Endeavor Bridge, we're going to see this highway going north and south, and we'll see this very long and thin lake going almost east and west there. So let's keep a 110 heading, 22 miles, and we made that turn at 7:53. So that should be about 7 minutes. That means right at the top of the hour is when we ought to be crossing over at Endeavor Bridge and the west end of that long skinny lake there. It's actually like a hook-shaped lake if we look carefully at it. Has this hook at the bottom. So that should be pretty easy to spot. Worst case scenario, we see the highway. We can scan up and down the highway for the point of this this body of water that should touch it. Or nearly touch it, at least. So 120.7, we're monitoring it. Smitty says, last time I was flying with my dad, he mentioned that y'all should put some binoculars in the plane. Well, I know a really good manufacturer, Smitty.
Got a helicopter mile south of Fisk. Question, are you going to be following the helicopter route? Hey, firm, going to Whiskey, Sierra 17. Do you proceed over to the helicopter route?
So they got a helicopter there. I was hesitant because I didn't know if he was going to try and tell him to tell him to rock his wings. So when you hear these pilots that are checking in with the approach controller, that's almost a pretty good indication that they haven't.
Yes. 127.0.
Oh, he was trying to check in with Milwaukee. So 127.0 is Milwaukee, 120.7 is Fisk. That's not confusing. But if you hear somebody check in with Fisk or with what they're going to maybe potentially call Oshkosh approach, that's kind of a dead giveaway that they didn't read the NOTAM.
Anybody just joining us, we're using the Green Lake transition.
Nomadic says, "What's my dad's a bird watcher? So what do you recommend?" What we have on this channel is a little bit of an inside joke, Nomadic. Class Bravo Airspace might see us in the skies, just about to depart. Moline, oh, that's where we departed from last year. Very cool. Very cool. All right.
Nicely done. Turn right, follow the east-west road, runway 36 left, tower 126.6.
Oh, that's my real-life home airport, he says. So, yeah, cool. We departed last year, and we came up the Mississippi to the Wisconsin River, and then broke off the Wisconsin River right at Wisconsin Lake and went in that way. All right, so 57 past the hour. So another 3 minutes maybe we should be finding. Yeah, okay, I think there's our highway and there's our Endeavor Bridge and our hook-shaped lake. So next there would be 11 miles on a, does that say a 086 or 096? 096 eastbound from there. So we'll take note of what time we cross. Oh, I was going to throw the emote, but my Prime sub's out until the 26th, so I'll have to resub to you on the birthday. It's fine, Nomadic. Much appreciated. There you go. Downwind Sims got you covered.
Blue and away message,
Nicely done. Follow the railroad tracks, runway 27. Keep that downwind nice and tight inside the gravel system. Tires will see you. Tower 18.5.
So 118.5 if we get the downwind to 27. So again, that aircraft that you just heard gets to stay on the railroad tracks up from Fisk all the way up to this side. They follow the railroad tracks all the way up. They cross US 41. They stay inside the gravel pit. Not sure how well we'll see that. They fly right over the town and then right base, tight right base, and right onto the runway. So that's what the aircraft that we just heard get instructed, a Messerschmitt, get instructed to do that.
Disregard for the specimen.
Alright, so we're aiming for this point of Endeavor Bridge. Red and white RV, that might be our friend Josh. I know he said he was going to be flying an RV in, so that might be our friend Josh M. Josh M, if you're monitoring the stream. Best of luck to you. Fingers crossed. So here's Endeavor Bridge, right?
There we go. Follow the railroad tracks, runway 27. Keep that downwind in.
So as soon as we cross over that, we're going to pace out 11 miles, which will be, so 12 would be 4 minutes, so it'll be 3 minutes and change east. Looks like I can almost see Puckaway Lake over here.
Riding at the southwest tip of Green Lake, then proceeding to Ripon, then following directly above the railroad tracks to Fisk. Doing at least half.
Oh, Josh was doing a P-51. Somebody, well, it might have been Josh. Somebody said that they might do that RV in, so he might have changed his mind.
No overtaking at the same altitude, no left turns.
Yeah, we're still cooking in. We're coming in. We're coming in about 170, 180. We are gonna slow it down to 90 and do the 1890 in this airplane. But right now we're still kind of cooking in. Okay, so we're over Endeavor Bridge. What's the next thing? 096 for 11 miles. I'm going to go ahead and set up this 238 here down on the bottom end. Oh, you know what? I've got that backwards. I've got that set to a 238. That should be a 058. Which one is that? Yeah. Because we are definitely going to be going northeast. And I'm going to set that down here too. 058. Just as an extra set of guidelines for those railroad tracks. All right, I can see Puckaway Lake, guys. I can see it. So as we cross over Puckaway Lake, we'll turn to a 080. We'll go 8 miles to the southeast corner of Green Lake. At that point, we'll drop to the 1800 knots and 1800 feet and 90 knots. But at that point, we need to be watching for traffic. I think this is the tip of Green Lake here, maybe. So at that point, we need to start looking for somebody to follow and to make sure we're not any closer to them than a half a mile. Black Force says, did you play in the movie Goodfellas? You sound just like the guy with the wig, and you kind of look like him. Negative on all counts, but thank you. I guess thank you. I'm not sure if it's a compliment. I don't know. I get Seth MacFarlane a lot. That I consider a compliment, and I don't think my voice is as nice as his. But I have no idea. I've only seen Goodfellas once. I don't remember the guy you're talking about. So some of my regulars can tell me whether it's a compliment or not. I really don't know. But we'll take it as one either way. Black Force says it is. Okay, good. Well, it doesn't... It's fine. But no, I was not in the movie Goodfellas.
I see a mess of a line there. Make sure we're directly over the railroad tracks, fellas.
Okay, so we're at Puckaway. We're at the southwest corner of Puckaway. And the reporting point is right there at that southwest corner. So now 8 miles on a 081. And again, that's kind of approximate. But
good evening, Carenado 1963, 13 for 11, information alpha. 127.0 for approach. 127.0, Carenado.
Got a movie voice. All right, we'll take it. We'll take it.
South assist, crack your wings.
We'll take it as a compliment. Thank you very much.
Very nice. Turn right, follow the east-west road, runway 36.
Okay, we are going to drop some power out now.
Over fifth, crack your wings.
And start slowing it.
Follow the railroad tracks, runway 27. Keep that downwind inside the gravel pit. For 27, tower 118.5, and the Cirrus for 36 left, tower 126.6.
So 1800, and then we're going to bring it down to 90 knots. I know that thing's going to yell at us if we pull the power all the way out, so I'm going to leave it a little bit in.
Got a white and gray Piper, mile south assist, crack your wings.
Alright, so we
Very nice. Turn right, follow the east-west road, runway 36 left, tower
keep it coming down to
I got a Cessna, mile south assist,
1800.
Very nice. Follow the railroad tracks for the downwind 27. Keep that downwind nice and inside the gravel pits. The tower can see you in tower 118.5.
And I don't see anybody. I'm scanning around looking for somebody. Either we've timed it perfectly or we're just not seeing traffic. I am going to disconnect and reconnect from VPilot. I know that that's an old trick, like it would cause traffic to redraw. I don't know if that's anything at all related to the issue. That was like from the early days of...
Joining us, we're using Green Lake transition, joining at the southwest corner of Green Lake, then to Ripon, following directly above the railroad tracks to Fisk. No overtaking at the same altitude, no side by side.
Okay, now we got to trim up. Now we are going to hand fly this the entire way also.
And our low performance 90 knots, 1,800. High performance 2,300, 135 knots. I got an RV mile south of Fisk, crack your wings.
Do I have any third-party model matching? No, it's all the default. Default model matching. Although I do have the default model set to a Caravan rather than the airliner. So we're seeing mostly GA types. We should be seeing a Caravan everywhere. If it doesn't know what to model match it to, it should match it to a Caravan rather than an airliner. So that'll help us a little bit. All right, so 1800. I'm gonna be brave. I'm gonna try and hand fly this, guys. I don't see anybody around. This is the part that's making me nervous. I don't see any traffic. Alright, let's let it settle into a steady descent here. Ease the power back, get it back down to 90. 1890. We're coming up just the east side of Green Lake. So this little tip of Green Lake ought to be off on our left, and the town of Ripon should be on our right. .066 would be a good kind of guideline. Yeah, I'm not seeing anyone. I'm nervous about the draw distance, guys. A lot of times it's like really difficult to see planes unless they are right on top of you. Of course, we do have a half mile. I mean, that's pretty close. Like, if they're within a half mile, we should see them. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and drop the first notch of flaps. That'll help us keep the nose down and for us to be able to see forward while we're at this lower speed. Oh, and thank you. Thank you, Aries. Boost pumps on. Gauge is all okay. Left side. Gauge is all okay. Boost pump off. Alright, still about 10 knots fast and 50 feet high. Headed for the town of Ripon. This kind of looks like civilization here.
That is a beautiful line down to the southwest, guys. Anybody just joining us, we are using the Green Lake transition.
Still about 10 knots fast.
Corner of Green Lake, then proceeding to Ripon, then following directly above the railroad tracks to Fisk. Minimum half mile behind the next guy. No side-by-sides, no S-turns, no overtaking at the same altitude. Got our high performance up high at 2,300, low performance down at 1,800. Got a Cessna mile south of Fisk, rack your wings. It's slight, but it's there. Turn right, follow the east-west road, runway 36 left. Tower 126.6. You got a Kodiak mile south of Fisk, rack your wings. Very nice. Follow the railroad tracks for runway 27.
1800, 90 knots. We're going to add just a touch of power. We're going to kind of keep heading towards civilization here. So this is where that 058 into Oshkosh is going to come in useful.
And for low performance, we're doing 90 knots, 1,800. High performance, 2,300, 135.
So that'll help us kind of get close to that railroad track. Again, when I did this last year, it was really hard to see those tracks, although I think we did eventually figure out which line we were supposed to be looking at.
Awesome job today.
So there's 1,800, 90 knots. We're a touch fast.
Fisk approach, purple and white Cessna passing Fisk, need a direction.
Is that 33?
Affirmative.
I believe I told you, are you the Cessna?
No, last call is for a Kodiak.
The Kodiak was the railroad tracks for 27, tower 118.5.
Okay, so what about pilots up 33? Where do I need to go, sir?
Oh, that's Michael. That's right ahead of us.
33, you're the Cessna, correct?
Affirmative, purple and white Cessna. Coming up the railroad tracks about a mile past 2 miles northeast of Fisk.
Pilot Club 33, turn left, come back to 5th.
Roger, Pilot Club 33.
I tried calling for a saw wing rock and guess you weren't there.
Alright, so I think... Yeah, and I'm going to sit up a little higher in the plane. This all kind of looks like Fisk to me. I mean, I can't really tell. Okay, alright, so I think this is the railroad track coming out. Or, I'm sorry, this should be Ripon here. This, I believe, is the railroad track that we should be following. 1800, 90 knots, doing pretty good on that. Alright guys, this is where it starts to get nerve-wracking. So this is the one that's, well, actually there's two straight lines. I think the railroad track actually is supposed to be the one that comes right out of the farm silos here. The one over to the right, I think, is 44. Yeah, Route 44. I think the railroad track is the one that comes right out from the, right out past the silos. Whoops. Trying to scroll in the document, not trying to,
Got a 152 miles south of 5th, direct your wing. Very nice. Turn right, follow the east-west road for runway 36 left, tower 126.6. Got a Kodiak mile south of 5th, direct your wing. There it is. Follow the railroad tracks, runway 27. Keep the downwind inside the gravel pit, tower 118.5.
Alright, let's get it back up to 90 and 1800.
33, you got the two aircraft over Fisk. You can follow the east-west road behind the Kodiak for runway 36 left, tower 126.6.
Follow the Kodiak, east-west road, tower 126.6, Pilot Club 33.
Okay, and so this I believe it makes a little bit of a left hitch there, and I believe we said last year that this was the exact one that we needed to be following. So there's 1800, about 95 knots. We'll chop it back down to 90. Again, I'm being ambitious. I'm hand flying this whole thing. See how close we can keep the speeds and the altitudes here. I'm going to need to do a wing rock here because my yoke's getting a little jittery going left again. Fortunately, we should be coming up to that point where we do it. As soon as we pass this little bend in the road, he should be calling us kind of any second here. And the airport's probably right about out there. Touch more power, get it back up to 18.
Anybody just joining us? We're using the Green Lake transition, joining at the southwest corner of Green Lake, then proceeding to Ripon, then following directly above the railroad tracks to Fisk. No overtaking, no side-by-side, no S-turns, mile and a half between the next guy. And if you do not get any instructions by Fisk, turn left and go back to Ripon. We'll get you the second time. High performance aircraft, 2,300, 135 knots. Low performance, 90 knots, 1,800.
This should be us coming up any second. Here's where the rubber meets the road, guys. This is right where last year I went, oh, I'm not sure I'm in the right spot, I'm going to break off, and that was right when they called me.
Red White Legacy, mile south of Fisk, track your wings.
Uh-oh.
Very nice. Follow the railroad track to runway 27. Keep that downwind inside the gravel pits. The tower can see you. Tower 118.5.
Speeds up. I would have expected to get an instruction by now, guys. Well, this still might be the railroad track right here. Yes, one prediction only. So we might still be over the railroad track. This orange patch here, if I don't get an instruction by that orange patch, I'm breaking off. I do see some traffic down here to the right. Some traffic up here.
Got a blue and white Mooney.
That's us. Okay, a mile south of Fisk, so I guess that...
Very nice. Turn right, follow the east-west road, runway 36 left, tower 126.6.
126.6. I did not read that back. Okay, there's the east-west road. 126.6. Alright, time to put those predictions in, guys. No bot command necessary, just a number into the chat, positive or negative. We will know you mean a descent rate either way.
Landing 36 left, welcome to Oshkosh, left onto the grass, there you go, thanks, welcome to Oshkosh.
So I'm not trying to scroll, I'm trying to move, I'm not trying to zoom, I'm trying to scroll the, I'm trying to remember which dot's which. Okay, there we go. It's purple, and then yellow, and then pink. And field elevation is 800. So we should get one more call out by tower. They'll give us which runway and which dot.
MSFS 36 right, welcome to Oshkosh, taxi straight ahead to the end. Oh, you can exit right there, that's fine, welcome to Oshkosh.
Go ahead and get the gear down. Flaps 2.
And the low wing approaching route 41, runway 36 left, clear to land, keep done.
Alright, I guess that's us. Pink dot's the one furthest forward. That's good news, actually, because it's a nice long time to stabilize. It's Route 41 that we're passing over there, Ripple Avenue. Or no, Route 41, which crosses Ripple Avenue. We're coming up Fisk Avenue here. Alright. We do have our landing clearance. Flaps 3 set and checked. Gears down and green. Remember, pink dot's the one furthest forward, so we're gonna be well above the pappies here. Last call for the predictions, guys. Aim for 80 knots down final, 75 over the touchdown point. Pink dot is after that parallel taxiway starts.
Oshkosh Tower, for runway 36, this is the Vibe Club, 6589, I'm about to enter the base for runway 36.
Alright, we're down.
The low wing on the base for runway 36 left, runway 36 left, clear to land on the numbers.
Clear to land on the numbers, runway 36 left, Pilot Club 6589.
And we are down, guys.
And a Mooney, nice landing. Follow the flagman, welcome to Oshkosh.
Flap stowed. Pitot off, strobe off, landing lights off, taxi light will leave on. And we'll head over near the parking area near the control tower. I was fairly happy with it. I did the same thing I did last year, which was I misjudged the width of the runway because I got 36 left last time as well. But I was happy with it. I did hit the mark pretty well. I think we were right on the dot. And yeah, it was fairly smooth. It was lower descent rate upon touchdown than last year. We'll go over the the controllers have been talking to us, Jawan. Has that not been coming through? I thought the ATC audio was coming through just fine. I hope so. That's most of the fun of this event. Wino Airshow scenery? Ask Steve. I don't think we have it available for Flight Sim 2020. At least I didn't do the Pilot Edge one, so I, legally speaking, shouldn't have theirs. X-Plane has a really nice one that is freeware. But yeah, no, I didn't do the Pilot Edge one, so I don't have that really cool scenery that they did for their users. I'm going to go ahead and just pull on onto this little grass strip just between the two pieces of pavement here. Alright, parking brake is on, taxi light is off. Let us go ahead through the shutdown procedure, and then I will go over that winning number with you here. Alright, so all the lights, pitot, heat, parking brake, taxi, transponder can be shut off. Elevator trim, fuel and ETA. Let's check that real quick. I'll
I'll
tell you what, before we shut down,
Welcome to Oshkosh.
let's check on my ETAs, or yeah, my estimates, and then we'll check on your estimates. I had said we were going to be on the ground at 8:20, on the blocks at 8:25. We pretty much nailed that, and then we should have 127 pounds left. Let's see how we did with that. Seven, yeah, wow, almost nailed that too. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, wow, almost exactly. 123, I think I was 4 pounds short. Yeah, so flight time and fuel estimates, pretty much on the ball, guys. If you ever want to see where I come up with those numbers, on that YouTube link on the lower left-hand side of your screen is a playlist called VATSIM Tutorials, and the one that you want to see is called Guide to Flight Time and Fuel Estimates. You'll see I have this magic spreadsheet that I show you snips from, but that tutorial walks you through all the math that I use in my spreadsheet so that you can create your own. But yeah, those numbers worked out really, really well, didn't they? All right, now let's look at your predictions. Descent rate upon touchdown was a very respectable 72. Let's see how we did with your numbers, guys. 177, 86, 70 from Edmund Stoner. That might have it. 88, 63, 130, 69, 78. Papa Charlie close, but not close enough. Edmund Stoner still's got it. Down with some 90. Alex at 20, 54 from Pit Player, Pie Player. Retired AF. Hey, welcome back to the stream, Retired. I haven't seen you here in a bit. 121. Deep Fried Friday said 11:23. Even if it was 1:23, that's still not close enough. Yeah, so Edmund Stoner, yeah, looks like it, guys. Was anybody closer than Edmund Stoner that I didn't see? It would have had to come in on the top side with a 74 or better. So I think it's Edmund Stoner. Edmonds, man, you picked up a number of these entries recently. Well, let's go ahead and get you down here for this one. Edmund Stoner at Oshkosh, Oshkosh, 720. All right, congrats on that. Yeah, the X-Plane scenery. Smitty says, I would have thought that it would have been easier to follow the landmarks and flights in 2020, but I thought the X-Plane scenery was pretty easy to follow. Yeah, I agree. Matter of fact, if you compare this stream to last year's stream, very, very similar. Compare last year's stream to my VATVenture stream from 2 years ago when I flew with the Baron in X-Plane, and I felt like, well, first of all, we had the LPNils scenery at the grounds, which was fantastic. I mean, planes parked all over the grass. They had areas roped off for the concession stands area. They had tents everywhere. It's a really cool scenery. LPNils on the xplane.org forum. You should check that out. Those of you who are X-Plane 11 users. But yeah, but even the scenery on the way was much easier to follow. At any rate, so yeah, Edmund Stoner gets the big win there. Let's go ahead and get the plane shut down. So let's finish up that last bit of the checklist. As we do go transponder off, let's go ahead with the radio master off. I'm going to do a live mag check. I'm going to just run the RPMs up a little bit. We're going to blip the magnetos down real quick to see, just to make sure that the lead switch, the lead wire to kill the mags is indeed attached properly. Yep. Okay, it is. Oh! 3-3 Foxtrot hitting us with the raid, and we are just getting ready to close up shop. 3-3 Foxtrot. We heard you right ahead of us. Hopefully, we heard that they didn't quite give you a sequence in time, but hopefully everything went well after that. We'll have to watch your stream back and see how that wound up, 33 Fox, Mike, but hope that everything went well once you got handed over to the tower controller. But yeah, we were kind of in right behind you. But yeah, thanks very much for the raid, Mike, and like I said, I hope your flight went well. So we checked the magnetos, live mag check, the mag switch is working properly. We'll go ahead and get the fuel into cutoff, plane shuts down, and we can go ahead and pop the door now. The prop lever can come down. Mags can go off for real now. Fuel selector can come off. Oops, there we go. Nav and beacon lights and alternator and battery switch. Okay. There it is, guys. Whoops. Let's bring it in at a... we landed, says 33 Foxtrot. That's the best you can say. Well, you know what? Sometimes that's good enough. And let's close with a nice shot of the tower in the background. Nice sunset shot of the tower. There we are, guys. Welcome to Oshkosh. Alright, we'll go ahead and get some music in here as we get ready to go ahead and close up the show. We appreciate you flying along with us. I'll take the rest of the night to catch up on some of those show descriptions as we upload our previous streams to the YouTube channel, but I'm a little bit behind on that. So we will see if we can get caught up with that tonight. Alright, guys, but thanks for flying along to our wonderful VATVenture stream. VATVenture, the Chicago ARTCC on VATSIM, always does such a fantastic job recreating the ambiance of this event. Look at this line coming in behind us, too. Really, really cool. So we'll have to look out on the on YouTube for some post-event time lapses. If you type in VATVenture time lapse, you can see some of the ones from the previous years. But yeah, always real cool, and then we'll have to look out. I saw one from last year where I found myself on the scope, and then we'll have to watch out for 514 Delta Victor when we watch the replay and see how we shook in. It was real hard to tell. I didn't see any other traffic until we got real close to the airport. But yeah, no, that was a fun one. Like I said, the Chicago AirTCC on VATSIM always does a fantastic job with this event, really recreating and capturing the essence of this fantastic event. It's our virtual version of the EAA AirVenture, the famous fly-in to Oshkosh, Wisconsin, and we call it here VATVenture. So thank you for flying along VATVenture 2022. Guys, we're General Aviation's flying stream. We stream for you Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, typically starting at 7 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time. The full show schedule is down underneath the About tab. We've got a more complete version of that schedule that goes a little deeper through the month of August. We've got that posted over on our Discord server, so jump in over on our Discord if you would like to get that full show schedule, see what we're going to be up to for the entire rest of this month and the entire month of August. They're typically Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 7 p.m. Eastern, but there are some variations, so you do want to kind of keep tabs on that. When we have to make last-minute changes to that schedule, we will let you know on Twitter. So if you follow us on Twitter, you'll keep tabs on any last-minute changes we have to make to the schedule. So please feel free to follow us over there. We also post that in our announcements channel on Discord, so we do try and keep you abreast of anytime where we've got to shuffle the schedule at the last moment. So please feel free to follow us on Twitter and keep the tabs on that, as well as any breaking news in the VATSIM community or the flight simulation community at large. We do try to keep you up to speed with all that stuff as well. Over on the Discord server also, if there were things you were trying to say to me in the chat, this is a very busy stream. I typically do mostly a lot of hand flying and a lot of very intense procedural stuff, so I don't always have time to keep up with every single chat message. It is certainly not personal. But if you had questions about anything that you saw or heard on the stream tonight, feel free to get in on that Discord discussion. We've got a great community over there, and I myself check in on that pretty much every few hours when I'm not streaming, more or less around the clock. And I won't go into the reasons why it's around the clock, but yeah, I'm typically pretty active in keeping up with messages on that Discord if you did have questions about stuff or just even wanted to wave and say hi over there. So please feel free to jump in on that. We talked briefly about the YouTube channel. That's linked on the lower left-hand side of your screen. But that is where we have all of our old flight broadcasts if you wanted to see past VATVenture events, or if you want to see any other flights that we have done, see if we've gone into your favorite airport, and so forth. But yeah, the other thing to check out over there is our VATSIM tutorials playlist. We alluded to the flight time and fuel estimates one there, but we've also got one that will help you get started talking with air traffic control, one that will help you figure out how to put IFR routes together or VFR routes together, or how to read VFR sectionals, or what these slant codes mean. What's slant alpha mean after all? Slant whiskey, slant lima, all this stuff that we bandy about on the channel like you're supposed to know what the heck we're talking about. Well, if you don't, check that tutorial out that's over on our playlist called VATSIM Tutorials on our YouTube there. Again, that link on the lower left-hand side of your screen. Last but not least, we'll let you know what we've got coming up now. We are going to be off on Friday. As we did mention, our normal show schedule does change every now and then, but we're going to be off Friday. The next stream is actually going to be Saturday. Another big annual VATSIM event, one that we have never flown on this particular stream before, but we are flying this year, and it's called Transcontinental. It's 2022 eastbound. 14 total featured fields within VAT USA will be staffed up across the U.S. for a day of transcontinental flying. We are going to be doing a coast-to-coast flight in the PMDG DC-6. So we're not exactly following the vein of that event. We're going to be a little bit outside of the usual parameters. We didn't book a slot or anything like that because we're not going to be really using a slot. We're going to be flying from Oakland to Dulles. And most of the country will be staffed up with air traffic control. Of course, we're going to be a little slower than most, about half as fast as most, so we may not finish by the time there is still air traffic control. But hopefully we will get most of the way across the country, and then by the time we get over to the East Coast, it'll be kind of prime time evening. So hopefully we will have some good staffing over there. Bear with me for 1 second, guys. We'll keep our fingers crossed for 2 reasons. We'll keep our fingers crossed that we still have air traffic control coverage when we land that thing. And we'll also keep our fingers crossed that I don't screw up the fuel balance on what might well be a 9 or 10 hour flight in that DC-6. So that'll be Saturday. We're going to start that stream at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time. 14:30 Zulu on Saturday. We're also going to be off Monday then. And the next one will be Wednesday, the 27th, which is where we're going to do the drawings for our landing rate and alphabets points raffles. So there you go. Transcon Ori is going to be eastbound, so we're going to start on the west coast and on the east coast, and that is in fact what we're going to do in that DC-6. Alright, so I think that wraps it up, guys. Last but not least is to find somebody to send the stream over to. Who is there? Somebody else that's flying along in this event. Let's see. Well, I got one good one that I might send you to here. I don't think he's doing VATVenture though. Another one, a couple good ones that are not. Looks like we got one that just landed here at Fisk. That would have been a good one to send you to. Let's. Oh, 787 Flyer. We got the controller that is streaming. Oh, well, that's definitely what you guys are going to go see then. That's awesome. And we'll probably watch that back, too. Yes, awesome. All right, Snowdog 8 Mike Alpha is the Fisk approach controller. So we are going to send you over to Snowdog 8 Mike Alpha, guys. You're going to get to see it from the controller. Somebody was asking earlier about that, and I didn't know the answer, but now we know. So, yeah, we'll send you over to Snowdog 8 Mike Alpha. I don't know how well he's going to be able to interact with you guys, but at least you'll be able to get a nice view of what they're seeing, and they are using a tower view to watch for the wing rocks. So that is pretty awesome, guys. We'll send you over there. Hopefully you'll enjoy the rest of the event. Hopefully you had a good time with this one. We will hopefully see you on Saturday for Transcon from the cockpit of the DC-6 over out in Oakland. In the meantime, enjoy the rest of your week, guys. Be healthy and safe in your own travels and your own adventures in the meantime. Take care.